I'm going to explain why home laws against prostitution are transphobia. So all these SJW, social justice warriors, all these LGBTQ allies or advocates, all these progressives, all these types of people, they should really be supporting, they should really be legalizing or decriminalizing prostitution, because I'm going to explain why. See, if I go out today, if I go out on the street, walk around the street, go to a mall, go to a store, go to a bank, go to any public place, I will see men, I will see women, I will see children. What I will not see, or what I do not see in my neighborhood or in my city, I don't see a lot of trans people. I don't see a lot of transsexuals. I really don't. There are not a lot of them out there. They make up a very small percentage of the population. Now, in terms of prostitution, you have women who work as prostitutes, you have men who work as prostitutes, and you have transsexuals who work as prostitutes, primarily male to female type transsexuals, or males who are impersonating females, or mutilated men, however you want to look at it. Okay, yeah, that's what you have. Now, like I said, I can see women every day on the street. I see men every day on the street. I do not see transsexuals. If I see, so now there's certain areas where there'll be women working as prostitutes. You may have certain districts in some, or certain streets or whatever in some cities where you have women who work on the street as prostitutes. You could have certain venues where women work as prostitutes, like brothels and whatever other businesses where women engage in prostitution, or even apartments and etc., hotels, whatever. You have certain areas where men work as prostitutes. Now, I'm not gay. I don't look for those types of things. So I don't personally know if there's any. I don't know what the gay male prostitute areas, or even they could even be males who cater to women as prostitutes. I don't really know where those types of prostitutes are located, the male prostitutes, but I'm sure they exist where I live and in other places as well. Then you have the transsexual prostitutes as well. Now the thing is, like I said, I don't have to go to a female prostitution area or a female venue or business where females are selling their bodies as prostitutes, or renting their bodies, I guess, as prostitutes, in order to see a woman, because there are women everywhere. I see women everywhere. There are women on the street, women driving cars, women in the grocery store, women in the bank. There's women everywhere. And the same thing goes for men. You don't have to go to a male prostitution area you don't have to go find a male prostitute in order to see a man. There are men everywhere. Men walking around the street, men driving around, men working in stores, etc. There's men everywhere. Just men who are not prostitutes, just like there's women who are not prostitutes everywhere. But when it comes to transsexuals, you don't see transsexuals around in everyday life. I don't see transsexuals. Now it's possible maybe I don't notice transsexuals when I see them, but for the most part, when I look at somebody, see, the thing is, transsexuals don't, like a male. If a person is born as a man, then they decide to quote unquote become a female. They don't look like real women, right? They look different because they have a masculine appearance, because males and females are biologically different. Their bodies develop differently. So the average man looks physically different from the average female, different like facial structure, bone structure, body shape, and men generally can't look like a real woman. right? So usually if I look at a woman closely, if I see a woman, like I see her body, I see her body shape, that I could tell a feminine, a real female, genuine female body shape. Like they have just have the proper curves to be a female, and the men and the male transsexual doesn't have it. So if I looked at a transsexual, I could tell them, I could usually probably tell that it's not a real woman. Um, So, and I don't see them around. I don't see them walking around in my neighborhood. I won't go to a park and see a transsexual. I go walk down the street, I see a man walking, I see a woman, I see women walking, I see children. I don't see any transsexuals. But now, if I went to a transsexual area, now I don't know where the transsexual areas or transsexual prostitution areas are located in my city. I'm not sure if they have them or not. They may have them in my city. I'm sure they have them in other places. I'm, I mean, I've heard about them in places like Thailand and Southeast Asia and stuff. They have transsexual prostitutes. I'm sure they have them in different cities. They have the transsexuals. So, in order to find, I don't have to go to a prostitution area to find a woman, to see a woman, right? Because I see them all around, all the time. I don't have to go to a male prostitution area to see a man because there are men everywhere. I see men everywhere all the time. But in order to find a transsexual, you need to go to a transsexual prostitution area because you can't find transsexuals. There's not a lot of transsexuals around. They're all concentrated in the prostitution area. And that's because, first, there's not a lot of transsexuals overall. Secondly, transsexuals are more heavily concentrated in the sex trade than either regular men or regular natural women. There's a much higher percentage. Just common sense tells me that there's a much higher percentage of transsexuals in prostitution than they are men or women. I'm sure there's probably more women in prostitution in most countries, a lot of places, because there's more demand for women because most men are heterosexual. Most men prefer women, so there's a bigger demand. Now, as far as male prostitutes go, there's less demand for male prostitutes because gay men are a minority of the population. Most men prefer women, so there's not that much demand for the gay male prostitutes. And then women don't usually pay for sex, or at least not for one night stands. They may have pay those beach boys or whatever. The men in the Caribbean, some of those beach boys are, whatever they call them, rented dreads and sankey pankies, those types of men. They may pay those men, but those men are pretending to romance them and stuff. But anyway, there's just not a market for the male prostitutes, so there's not as many male prostitutes. So it's probably a smaller, even so you ever so the percentage of men who are prostitutes are even smaller. But when it comes to transsexuals, I suspect that a very high percentage of transsexuals, particularly the younger ones, are engaged in prostitution because, for one thing, a transsexual is not gonna, it's probably hard for them to get jobs because who do people really want to hire a transsexual? Do major corporations, I mean, they may say they're pro LGBTQ and stuff like that, but do they really want to hire a transsexual secretary, receptionist, like a major law firm or something? Do they want to hire a transsexual receptionist, or do they want transsexual cashiers? Because some of the customers are going to complain. Like, imagine if a Walmart store in West Virginia or something opened up, or in Georgia or something like that, hired some transsexual cashiers or transsexual greeters. The customers are going to start complaining. It's bad for business. They don't want to hire those people. So the transsexuals, like, their employment options are limited, and a lot of them are going to gravitate towards the sex trade. And as prostitutes, they're catering towards like a fetish, a small demographic that has that fetish for transsexuals. for whatever reason. Um, that's who they're gonna be catering to. And so anyway, so I suspect a very high percentage of these transsexuals are engaged in the sex trade. Okay, because the only time, to me, the only time you don't see transsexuals in everyday life. The only time you see them in many cases are as prostitutes, working as prostitutes. Like, I mean, if I go to any country, a lot of countries in the world, from Canada to the United States to South America to Southeast Asia to probably Europe, where's the like, I probably won't see trannies in everyday life, but then there'll be some prostitution area where you see a whole bunch of them concentrated there. So basically, what I'm saying is these transsexuals are concentrated in the sex trade, and that means that when you make laws against prostitution, or you outlaw prostitution, it makes things more difficult for the transsexuals, because it affects transsexuals more than it affects women or men in general, because only a tiny percentage of men are prostitutes, right? And maybe a somewhat larger percentage of women are prostitutes, are just straight out prostitutes taking money for sex. But still, a lot of women are not prostitutes, so it's not going to affect them when you have these laws against prostitution. But it affects a lot of these trannies who probably can't necessarily get other employment other than prostitution. So that's why I'm saying laws against prostitution are transphobic, and all these SJWs talking about pronouns and gender pronouns, blah blah blah. They should be calling for decriminalization of prostitution. Now, there's sometimes they have a thing where they want to make it illegal to pay for sex but legal to sell sex, but that's hurting the prostitutes as well, because you're scaring away the customers. Think about it. Let's say the government said it's legal for Walmarts to be open. It's legal for a store to be open, but it's illegal for people to shop in the store. Then you have police posted outside the store, and they just arrest the customers. As soon as the customer comes out with their bags, they get arrested by the police. Well, guess what's going to happen? The customers are not going to go to the store anymore. The customers will say, okay, I'm not going to shop there anymore because I just keep getting arrested. Every time I come out with my groceries or whatever, I get arrested. So they're just going to stop going. Then the store is going to go out of business. The store won't get business. It's going to lose business. So they're hurting the prostitutes, all these transsexual prostitutes. So anyway, I think the SJWs and the pro-LGBTQ people should should be decriminalizing prostitution if they want to help those trans people, instead of talking about gender pronouns. What gender pronouns? What does that make a difference? What difference does it make if I call a trans man, if I call him he or whatever, what difference does that make? It doesn't make a difference to his life. Like, what difference is, like, I don't have anything to do with these people. It doesn't make a difference. Like, why should they care if I say it's a he or whatever, or whatever they want to be called. Anyway, that's all I have to say.